The Day of the Rope by Devon, Chapter 22. Thousands of miles away from where Wayne lay bleeding on a hospital floor, a simple script running on a little-used Linux server counted down the seconds. Every day it counted down, and every day the countdown was postponed for an additional 24 hours. Sometimes time would be added while there were still 12 hours remaining in the countdown. Once, the countdown had made it all the way down to 2 hours. Now the countdown, for the first time since the script had been implemented, had only seconds left. Wayne's violent murder had been live-streamed to millions of people. After the stream had cut off, the recording had been viewed by millions more. Wayne had the gruesome distinction as having been murdered in front of more eyewitnesses than any other human in history. That's why so many people were startled by the notifications on their phones that Wayne had just uploaded another video. A video entitled, "The Time Has Come." While an orderly at the hospital silenced the reminder buzzing on Wayne's phone just inches from his still warm body, millions of people around the world watched and listened in silent wonder. My fellow Americans, if you are watching this video, before you do anything else, I need you to archive it immediately. This video will be removed as soon as it is discovered, which will probably be any moment now. Do not waste time watching this video first. Archive it now, and then share it to as many mirrors as possible after you have it safely stored on removable media. This is not a joke. This is not a gimmick. This is not a drill. This is the most important and last address I will ever likely make. I say this to you now, hoping and praying to God Almighty that you have already done as I have asked and saved and shared this message, because if you are watching this, my friends, my fellow patriots, then I am either in custody as a political prisoner, or more likely, I have become the first casualty in a war you must now fight. If this is the case, then I can tell you with certainty that while I am not a perfect man, as no such man lives today, that I have died doing what is right, and I have died doing what the Lord above commanded me to do. And if I'm lucky, I'm watching you from heaven above, as a witness to the greatest moment in our nation's history. The moment we step into the footprints left by our forefathers. And once again, we dispatch the tyrants among us. You've always known something was wrong, that the media was lying to you, that politicians were lying to you, historians and professors all lying to you. You wondered why it was that no matter who you elected into office, that policies never changed. The direction of the country never changed. The wars that the ruling class sent our sons and daughters to die in never changed. Our children, but never theirs. No matter who you elected, the promises were never kept. Clearly, they knew the will of the people because they knew what promises to make. So why? What accounted for this complete disconnect between the will of the people and the people whose right it is to govern this nation, and the actions of those who presume to rule over us? What explained the complete lack of accountability when the crimes of the ruling class went unprosecuted? What happened when the war profiteers committed mass murder in nations across the globe in your name, with your children's blood? What happened when our so-called leaders and our so-called allies committed acts of terrorism on American citizens, on American soil, in terror attacks that murdered thousands and traumatized a generation? So, like genocidal maniacs they are, that they might justify yet even more atrocities around the world committed in our names, nothing ever happened. Never to them. They are not just liars. They are not only parasites. They are not just murderers. They are monsters that cannot even be called human. For too long they have evaded prosecution. For too long they have gone unpunished. A nation that does not apply the law equally to all has ceased to be a nation and has instead become a battlefield. What can a government that is complicit in these high crimes against the people be called other than the illegitimate government of hostile occupiers? You are not citizens. You are prisoners in their labor camp. How long have we prepared and even bragged of the heroic things we would be called to do should things continue down this path? My friends, we have reached the end of the path. Now is the time we either live up to these visions of ourselves, or we prove to the world that we are cowards, not worth saving. That our extinction is merely natural selection, removing our inferior genes. If you fail to act now, you justify our extinction, and the world will be right to celebrate, for it will be the extinction of a pathetic race of slaves. Do not be afraid to send these monsters back to hell where they came from. Is it murder to kill a plague-infested rat living under the bed? To draw their blood is no different morally, or even in function, than it is to shoot a rabid dog that is gnawing at your throat. Those among us who are truly committing the unforgivable sin, those who understand the danger and fail to act out of cowardice, these monsters who have anointed themselves superior to you decided that, and not only they, are worthy of power. They hate you because, in their hubris, they have the delusion that even though they have been chosen to be your masters, they are still burdened with the duty of managing you like cattle, managing the wealth generated by your labor, managing how to distribute the table scraps once they have finished feasting on your confiscated fruit. They openly commit murder with impunity. And why not? Is it really murder to kill cattle that is your property? In the shadows, they indulge in the most depraved behavior. No longer is it a secret that these monsters who consider you their property, after having been allowed to indulge in every form of consumption, have now developed an appetite for destroying the innocence of young children, and then discarding them like garbage. How far we have fallen. When the monsters feel free to rape and murder our children without conscience or even fear. They treat us like livestock, only because we have become like livestock. Livestock doesn't complain when their young are slaughtered and feasted upon at the table of the master. Livestock pulls the plow, and if it doesn't pull the plow, it gets the whip. And after it gets the whip, it still does not pull the plow, then it too is slaughtered and feasted upon at the table of the master. We are not animals, but those who behave like prey will be prey and will be ruled over by those who behave like predators. Now is the time. Right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, this moment, right now. Now is the time that you have been waiting for. To my brothers and sisters in the military, turn your arms against those who have no legitimate right to give your orders to brave men and women. If you choose not to act, then you have chosen your master, and you will suffer the same fate. To my brothers and sisters in federal government, you have had your chance to enforce the laws against the lawless, and you have made your choice. Join and fight with your people to eradicate the cancer that has infected this nation, indeed much of the world, or God have mercy on you, for we will not. To the state and local law enforcement, protect the countrymen you are sworn to protect. Fight side by side with them as they expel the demons within your midst. If you should choose instead to serve evil, then you too have chosen the path of doom. Every man who calls himself a man, who hears my words and does not act, is a liar and a coward, and cannot be trusted with the sacred contract we all make with each other, that we will not tolerate illegitimate kings. If you fail to act, then you too have chosen your fate. What we must do will not be easy. We are not like the monsters who denigrate life. We hold life sacred. We cherish life and freedom, God's two greatest gifts, and it is our solemn duty as men of God to defend both from those who presume to take his place by claiming dominion over both. Act now. Do not be afraid. There are people just like you and I who do not take pleasure in savage bloodshed, even when it is necessary, and it has never been more necessary. These are men who have known this day was inevitable, and they have been preparing. They prepared and waited for when the moment would come that they would be called upon to take their country back. And my fellow Americans, who I love and desperately wish to see free, whether I lay broken and bloodied in some subterranean prison cell or in heaven with the Lord, our God, that moment is now. Godspeed, patriots. Incredibly, the video uploaded automatically by Wayne's server, and the stream of Wayne's murder had remained live long enough for the people who had watched them to watch them again. Thousands had made copies and posted them to their own accounts on every obscure hosting site in the internet. Ethan had watched dumbfounded on his phone as Arrow drove their car into the garage of their safe house in Casa Grande, Arizona. Arrow quietly turned off the engine, and the two sat in silence as the garage door slowly closed behind them. "I guess it's on now," said Arrow. End of chapter 22. Final author note. I hope you enjoyed the story. If sufficient interest exists, I will soon write the sequel. If you would like to see more of my work, you can do so by visiting www.blackpilled.com. If you would like to support my work, please purchase copies of this book and share them with friends and family. You can also donate here. Thanks. Devon Stack. A quote from Abraham Lincoln. First inaugural address, 4th of March, 1861. This country, with its institutions, belongs to the people who inhabit it. Whenever they shall grow weary of the existing government, they can exercise their constitutional right of amending it, or exercise their revolutionary right to overthrow it.